Although I'm not going to delve into this in any great extent, please be aware that some of the quiz questions have to do with arrival variability, request variability, etc. And since it's an image, you're not going to be doing a Control F to find them. So just remember that these are down here. In this section, there is a difference between low contact and high contact services. High contact services, customers are involved with the service creation. Dentistry, haircutting, you are there during the service. You can't walk away and come back tomorrow and the service still is going on or being performed. You are physically present. With high contact services, the service delivery system must react to variable customer requests. Fixed constraints such as a limited posted menu help minimize this variability in the service delivery system. Why? You're really saying, you know what, I don't want you to choose among 50 or make up your own variation of what you want. Here are some things that you can choose from, and that's all. And so therefore we know how to respond to these 5 things. It's going to be much harder, not that we can't, it's going to be much harder for us to respond to the 100 or 1,000 different variations that you're requesting. If you look at cars now, you can order a car specifically, but generally they say, okay, here's a trim level, and on the trim level there are these features. And if you don't like these features, you can go to this other trim level and get the features that you want. Service recovery pertains to something has went wrong with the service process, and what does the company do to fix that problem? So the service recovery must be swift and appropriate in the customer's eyes, not the company's eyes, but the customer's eyes. What do we do to make things right? Now, there are some things that you expect to be done. Like, for example, if you buy something that is spoiled at Walmart, you should be able to take it back and get your money back. That would be a recovery, but not really a great response necessarily. It's a typical response. When have you received very poor service, and was there any recovery? And typically they'll give you your money back, or they will fix the problem is a very common one. Sometimes there are much better responses. I had a very bad experience with Bushwhacker over in Peoria. I bought my wife a bike that was electric, and there's a key that you can put in there to take the battery out because the battery is expensive. Well, when I was checking out, they could not find the key to unlock it. They looked and looked and looked, and then they told me that they would send it to me. I said, okay. And so I waited a few weeks, nothing. I call back and I call back and I call back and nothing. So finally I had to take some remediation of my own by putting a hold on the credit card. But it was that sort of thing that really, really turned me off to this company, and it just made a lasting negative impression on me. There are some service guarantees that are interesting. Hampton Inns used to have a guarantee that mostly said, if you're not happy, you don't pay. And I think people took advantage of that to a larger extent that they anticipated, so they made a change to it. Hampton has modified that policy to basically say, we're going to do what we can to make you happy, essentially within reasonable limits. Outsourcing of services. This occurs when you decide not to provide a service in-house, but to contract it out to someone else. An example of that is call centers. You have a problem, you call in, and you say, what do I do about this? The people that often respond to you are not from the company that you bought the product from, but they are subcontracted out. What is one advantage and one downside of domestic outsourcing? If you have limited capacity, you're not able to make more stuff, you could send some of those processes, services to someone else to do so that you can devote your time to something that makes more sense to you. One downside of domestic outsourcing is that you are going to be paying probably more than you would if you did it internally, because the company that does the contracting is going to be making a profit off of providing you the service. So there's going to be a difference in price theoretically. What is one advantage and one downside of non-domestic outsourcing? An advantage to, let's say, outsourcing to an Asian country is that you oftentimes get it at a cheaper price, so that you possibly are more profitable and possibly a lower cost provider to your customers. The obvious downside is transportation time and sometimes transportation costs. Typically, product is shipped on container ships because it's the most economical. They're not going to fly something because it's going to be exorbitant. So if you place an order, you have them build it, and as soon as they put it on the ship, it's more or less inaccessible to you for perhaps several weeks. So you typically have to have extra supplies and inventory in-house so that if there's a hiccup, you can do something about it, because again, once the product is on the water, it's not really very accessible to you.